And Professor, so far people have mixed feeling about AI. Some are very happy because they use AI to improve their work, solve the problems, even make money. Some are very scared. They're scared about being replaced by AI. And actually, I think it's already happened. So what's your perspective about this phenomenon?
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, of course, they're going to be replaced many people. That's natural. Any new machine you create or device replaces somebody because that's the point of a machine, right?
Yeah.
But this point, the problem with AI is that it's too broad because it replaces generally the human mind, right? But if you think about it, even in the 17th century, 18th century, there was the, machines that replaced, clothing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you can still make clothes yourself, but you don't do that. Or a car, right? A car replaced a horse. Right?
Yeah.
You can still have a horse, but a car is better. So AI has two sides. There's the automation, where you're replacing something you already know. So you replace, for example, doing a task that is already known in advance.
Yeah.
Okay, for example, making your tax. Your tax returns has a certain structure, and you have to put this money in, out, logistics, accounting, stuff like that. That could be automated, okay?
Yeah.
Or writing a letter to somebody, maybe certain things could be automated because they already have a purpose. You know you're going to do this thing, so you just tell the system, write a letter for me, or make something, automate this process for me, okay? But which is fine, which is good, because sometimes who wants to write a whole letter? Who wants to do the taxes? Who wants to do certain things that are very, very difficult? Same way that who wants to use a horse to drive to their work, right?
Yeah, sure.
They're going to have like, it's a bit dirty, it's going to be like too slow, all this kind of thing. The car is better, right? So this is automation. And then there is another part, which is the creativity part. The creativity part is very different. We are doing design, so we're interested in how can we improve the process of creativity? How to make things that are new and different using AI, okay? Not in the sense of using it as in to make it so we're lazy, but to challenge the way we think, which is different, right? Like I said before, convenient is different from challenging. In challenging, you are opening your mind, you're thinking like, okay, how can I do this that is new and different, that is better than the machine, or it's different from or how can I make the thing that makes the other thing? So in other words, how can I make an AI system that will make design? As I said before, this is the meta design. I'm not making design, I'm making a system that makes design, okay? I don't wait for somebody to make a machine to make me feel like, oh, look what I did. I didn't do it. The machine did it for me. That's what's happening today. Like many people use the software and they pretend that they did it. Well, it's not true. They didn't do it. The machine did it for them. But they don't want to admit it. But if you make the machine, if you make ChatGPT, you are the one who is in charge. If you make DeepSeek, you're the one who made it, right? You cannot be replaced because nobody can replace the replacer. Okay? So in that sense, you have a different way of thinking. So people will be happy to challenge themselves, to make things that make other things, to create robots, to create ChatGPT, create algorithms. That is going to be a different world that we're going to be live into. And that, I think, is going to change the way that we appreciate and we understand. So it's, I think, the best way to look into this kind of fear of replacement. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Thank you. And Professor, AI has improved from tool to thinking partner. It no longer just gives us simple suggestion, but help us with a big decision and even challenging on human ideas. So how do you think this kind of progress?
Yeah, I mean, decision making, right? What is a decision anyway, in the first place? I mean, there are certain decisions that there is no answer to them. For example, ethical dilemmas, right? Should I do this or that? They're both good, right? Should I be sick and rich, or should I be poor and healthy? It's a balance. That makes sense, right? The one has good and bad, and the other has good and bad. These are things that you cannot challenge. So there is something in that area of AI that could be useful because we can actually start enhancing our mind about things that already happen, and we have a suggestion by the machine that could be less biased and more logical, and with a lot of complexity that could be involved in this answering the question, and we can trace that complexity, and that would be a good thing. But at the same time, new ethics are going to happen. New ethical questions are going to happen in the future. So, for example, like a driverless car, right? Hits somebody on the car. So who gets to jail? The car, the driver, the co-driver? Because there's nobody there, right? Nobody took the decision.
Yeah.
The decision was not made by a human. Yeah. It was made by an algorithm. So we go back into the algorithm. Should we charge the algorithm? What is the algorithm? And then the algorithm may have set inside of it a random processor, right?
Yes.
So if you see this, like for example, the classic ethical dilemma of a driverless car that is driving towards a tunnel, and while it's driving on the tunnel on, like pretty fast, a kid jumps in front of it, was playing with the ball went into the street, goes into the street, and now the car has to make a decision. If I go straight, I hit the kid. Yeah. If I go on the side, I hit the wall and I kill the passenger. So it's a strange question, right? Because there's nobody to make that decision. So the decision has to be made by the algorithm. Yes. The algorithm has to be made by some sort of a random processor. So we would say like, okay, 50% this way, 50% that way. So now your life is based on a random process that is being put into by the programmer, but didn't control, because it's like random, like 50-50, right? Yeah. So I flip the coin. Yes. If the coin goes this way, I kill the kid. If it goes that way, I kill the passenger. So who takes responsibility for that? We don't know, right? It's a very strange ethical dilemma. Yeah. And this is something that, again, it's a decision. But the decision is not made by a human that we can blame. If I was a driver and I hit the kid, parents would come and say, why you kill my kid, right? Yes, definitely. But you cannot go to who are you going? To Elon Musk? Because he's the owner of the Tesla? Or you go to the car? The car doesn't have a spirit. You cannot put it in jail. You destroy the car. You go to the company who made the software. Yeah, which of the hundreds of thousands of people working in the company is going to be blamed? You go to the random processor. Who is going to blame the random processor? It becomes, in a way, more of a, I would use the word theological, like it's almost like a metaphysical question. Like the random processor is the one who made the decision. And what is random anyway? Because if you think about it, random in computers is not really random. It's a pseudo-random process. And that actually is completely strange. The whole thing is like completely, not even philosophers can figure these things out. Okay, and this is going to happen as we speak. There's many hundreds of dilemmas that are happening right now because of AI. And the question is, how do we solve these problems? And that is, I think, the most interesting part of AI, because that's where we have to show what it means to be human, what it means to make decisions, and how we incorporate that thinking process of ethics of the society, either the Chinese culture, which has a certain ethical structure, code that applies to the society to judge the people for doing bad things. What is bad or what is good has become like that, which is different in other society where, ethics is different. What is the ethical side of this? Like I said earlier, when something is ugly, but it's ethically correct, you like it, even if it's ugly. Yes. At the same time, something is beautiful, but it's evil. Yeah. You don't like it anymore. So how do you put these things together into a design conceptualization, and how do you actually produce a new concepts of design? That is something going to actually affect the way we think and the way we appreciate decisions, whatever decision means, right? It's a very strange word. Now we know what it is, but in the future we won't even know what it means. We have to redefine the word decision.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's impressive, Professor. So do you think AI is a threat for humanity, or does it need to be regulated?
No, it's not going to be a threat for sure. Okay, people are a threat.
People are a threat.
People are going to be a threat for sure. So we have to regulate people, not machines. The machines don't do anything. Yes, you can say that at some point there may be some biases injected inside the algorithm. Yeah. And these have to be cleaned. How did that happen? Okay, and that goes back into the algorithm. Yeah. The algorithm, if it has inside of it a bias that, you should kill only people who are over a certain age, that is a human incorporation into the AI.
Yeah.
That's a biased decision. Okay. If you take that away, then it goes back to the flip of the coin, A or B, based on 50-50. Yeah. It's equal, it's fair. Now we have a fair AI, it's not a danger anymore because it's fair. But the people who control the algorithms or write the algorithms could be the problem. So these have to be regulated, the people. Okay? Yep. It's not the machine, it's the people. So sometimes people, they make the mistake to think that the machine made the decision. No, it wasn't the machine. It was something inside the machine that was trigger it for a certain direction that made it look like as if a danger. Yes. And it is a danger, but not because of the machine, it's because of the human who has affected the machine's decision making. And that is very different. So I don't see any danger with the machines in the future. I think they're going to be very good and going to be challenging. It's going to change the world. It's going to make it better. And everything at the end, even the evil things are going to realize that it doesn't work anymore. They have to go back with the fair, because fair is forever. Unfair is short-lived. So that is going to be, and AI is going to be forever because it's going to be something that is going to, permeate through the years. Yes. So I think that eventually at the end, the good is going to prevail, and the fair, not good, the fair is going to prevail, the just is going to prevail, and that's going to be the future. It's not going to be dangerous in that sense. Okay. So I'm hopeful.
Okay.
I mean, for a reason, right?
Yes. Yeah. So how do you think China's AI level compares with the rest of the world? And do you have any suggestion for our future direction?
Yeah, I mean, we said earlier that one of the big things that China has done right now is to create this the big turning point, which is the DeepSeek, right? The DeepSeek is not that simple as we think, because it involves a lot of things in it, which are political, economic, and of course ethical. Yeah. And they're very important too. And I'll try to unpack it in a few seconds, in a few minutes here, because I think it's an important thing that actually showed a different direction. It showed actually that there is a just world, and that things actually do come back to where they're supposed to be. So what happened is that DeepSeek basically is a reaction to the constraints that the Western world put onto the Chinese software development. Okay. Right? That was involved with two parts. One was the part of the hardware. So they didn't allow Chinese to have NVIDIA machines, which were very high end. Yes. In the sake that it's a security threat, whatever that means. Okay. And the second is that the big companies who are using AI were spending too much money, it turns out to be, okay? So there are two parts, right? We don't allow you to use something because it's ours, which is okay, because it's theirs. They made it. They have the right to keep it and protect it, right? And the second is that the software companies like Google and OpenAI and the high-level AI companies were using too much computation, okay, for something that turns out to be not that computable, right? So what the Chinese did, because they were put in the corner, they start being smart, right? When you tell somebody don't do it, they want to do it now, right? So when you said Chinese, you cannot use that, they say, okay, how can we challenge that? Yes. So they came up with two concepts. One is that we don't need big machines, because at the end of the day, certain level of machines is enough. So for example, if you have a TV, 4K, 8K is the maximum. Yeah. If I give you a TV that is 20K, you don't care, because you cannot see better than that. Yes. It's the maximum, right? Yeah. So they had a 20K machines, right? In a way. So the NVIDIA was so powerful, but they didn't really do anything more than the average machines did. So the Chinese realized that, okay, we can use average machine, which is good. So we don't have to, we abide to the constraints, right? The second is they realized that the OpenAI and the big companies were using these like very high computational processes. In other words, they were computing the whole model, okay, to do next thing. And that took a lot of computational power. But the Chinese realized we don't have to do the whole thing. We can break it into pieces and do only certain pieces that we want when we need them. Like for example, when you're when I'm hearing music, I don't need to care about what my eyes see. I can close my eyes. I can still hear music, right? So now I have reduced my brain into only the ear. That's an expert of ear, okay? So they challenge that. So that way, they reduce the computational power to much more less computation than the other ones. So they can actually do the same thing they were doing with similar accuracy in a much less computational power. And that gave them a big advantage. Because number one, they don't have to pay much for the hardware.
Yes.
And second, they can do it faster and with less power consumption. So all of a sudden, they have a better product than the Americans. But what they did, and this is where it gets very interesting, and this is where the whole thing changes, is that they didn't compete in the capitalist market. In other words, they didn't come and say, okay, we have a better model, so we will provide it cheaper, right? That's what everybody would do.
Yes.
No, they said something very strange. What DeepSeek did is it said, like, we offer it free. Now, free destroyed the whole system because how can you compete with free?
Yes.
So these big companies are based on the idea that if I see somebody's competition, I'll buy you, or I'll incorporate you, or merge you, right? That's the whole idea, right? Or I will kill you because I have the money. But if it's free, how are you going to do it? You're going to buy the free? You cannot buy free because it's free, right? So all of a sudden, nobody wants to buy their things because it's a free product, right? In other words, you have a gate, right? You have a door, but there's no gate. So why do I go through the door? I can go around.
Yes.
Right? That's what. So the Chinese told the people, the world, that there is no door. There is empty. You can just go around, and that's what they did. And you go for free.
Yeah.
So what they did, instead of selling the software, they sold the advertisement of the software, and that's how they win. Okay, that is a very important thing because it basically showed two things. Number one, money doesn't work, and second, your power is mental.
Yeah.
If you're smart, you win. Not because you have more quantity of information. It's more like how you use that quantity. So these two things, again, that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because it's a competition. I think the Chinese came with something better. I think it's a big thing. It affected the market. So all of a sudden, all these companies lost, trillions of money. But at the same time, they woke up and now they're going to challenge the Chinese. That's a good thing, right? They challenge the Chinese now challenge the Americans, and back and forth. And that is for the betterment of the society. So that, I think, is a good thing. So this whole thing showed that the Chinese are equal partners, and that the Chinese are confident, and they're smart, and they're also very good in playing with the rules. Right? They didn't try to do anything illegal. Nothing illegal in the whole thing. So that's a good thing. That's a very ethical, competitive, and complementary process that actually was, I think, to the advantage of everybody, East and West. Okay? So, I think the benefits are humongous for AI.
Okay.
And that's what we teach the students, that's what we teach the kids, and that's what we teach to everybody who is interested in their lectures and everything, because we think it's a big deal. And it's a good thing at the end. So.
Okay. Thank you, Professor. I think that's everything.
Okay.
Yes.
We're good.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. I think
take care.
It's going to be very great.
Okay. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
It was a good thing.
Thank you.